Have you ever been betrayed by those closest to you? Have you ever had your dreams shattered, your identity stolen, and been left for dead in a pit of despair? Joseph, the favored son of Jacob, knows this pain not as a story, but as the brutal reality that forged his soul. His journey from a multicolored coat to the chains of a dungeon, and ultimately to the second highest throne in Egypt, is more than a tale of rags to riches. It's a masterclass in divine sovereignty, a testament to a faith forged in fire, and it holds a shocking truth about forgiveness that could change the way you see the injustices in your own life. This is the story of Joseph, the man whose dreams were only the beginning of a reality far greater than he could ever imagine. Our story begins not in a palace, but in the sun-scorched fields of Canaan, under the simmering gaze of 10 jealous brothers. Joseph was his father's favorite, and Jacob didn't hide it. The proof was a magnificent coat, a tapestry of vibrant colors that screamed of privilege in a world of drab shepherd's wool. To his brothers, that coat was a constant, infuriating reminder of their secondary status. But it wasn't just the coat. It was the dreams. Joseph, young and perhaps naive, shared visions of sheaves of grain and celestial bodies bowing down to him. He saw them as divine whispers, his brothers heard them as arrogant provocations. The conflict wasn't just sibling rivalry, it was a battle for identity and destiny. In their eyes, Joseph wasn't a prophet, he was a threat that needed to be eliminated. The moment of betrayal came with the cold finality of a predator's strike. They ambushed him, tore the beautiful coat from his back, the very symbol of his identity, and threw him into a dry, suffocating cistern. Imagine the darkness. Not just the absence of light, but the suffocating darkness of abandonment. Above, he could hear the muffled sounds of his own brothers, his own blood, casually eating a meal as they debated his fate. The air in the pit was thick with the scent of damp earth and his own cold sweat. This was the first furnace of Joseph's transformation, where youthful pride was burned away, leaving only the raw terror of a boy utterly alone. They pulled him out not for mercy, but for profit. Sold for 20 pieces of silver, the price of a slave, Joseph was shackled and marched toward Egypt. With every step that carried him further from home, the vibrant colors of his coat faded into the monochrome gray of servitude. The dreamer was now a slave. In Egypt, Joseph's fortune seemed to turn. Purchased by Potiphar, a high-ranking official, Joseph's integrity and God-given wisdom quickly made him indispensable. He rose from a lowly slave to the manager of Potiphar's entire household. The gleam of polished marble replaced the dust of the pit. The scent of exotic spices filled the air. For a moment, it seemed a new dream was taking shape. But his greatest test was yet to come. Potiphar's wife, drawn to Joseph's character and appearance, made repeated advances. Joseph's refusal was absolute. How then could I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Genesis 39 verse 9. His loyalty was not just to his earthly master, but to his heavenly one. This was a profound moment of maturity. The boy who once boasted of his own dreams now stood firm on God's principles, even at great personal cost. And the cost was immense. Enraged by his rejection, she falsely accused him. The man who had been a model of integrity was publicly shamed and thrown into the royal dungeon. The darkness returned, this time colder, harder. It was the darkness of stone walls, the clanking of chains, and the crushing weight of injustice. Here, in this forgotten hole, Joseph's faith could have shattered. He had been betrayed by family, then betrayed by a system he had faithfully served. Where was God in this? Yet, even in the dungeon, the Lord was with Joseph, Genesis 39 verse 21. He found favor with the prison warden and was soon put in charge of the other prisoners. He was no longer just enduring his circumstances, he was stewarding them. It was here that he interpreted the dreams of Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker, a glimmer of his old gift, now tempered with humility. The cupbearer promised to remember him, a fragile thread of hope. But as the Bible starkly notes, he did not remember Joseph, but forgot him. 2 more years. 2 more years of silence, of waiting, of his hope turning to dust in the darkness. This was the final stage of his crucible, where God taught him that reliance on man leads to disappointment, but reliance on God builds unshakable character. Then, one day, the call came. Pharaoh was tormented by dreams no one could interpret. The forgotten cupbearer suddenly remembered the Hebrew prisoner. Joseph was hastily cleaned up and brought before the most powerful man in the world. Standing before Pharaoh, this was a new Joseph. There was no youthful arrogance, only a quiet, profound confidence. When Pharaoh praised his ability, Joseph immediately deflected, "It is not in me, God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer," Genesis 41 verse 16. The boy who once proclaimed, "I have dreamed a dream," now declared, "God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do." His gift was no longer about him, it was a channel for God's wisdom. He interpreted the dreams of famine and plenty and laid out a brilliant plan of salvation for the entire nation. In a single day, Joseph was transformed. The slave chains were replaced with a gold chain of office. The prison rags were swapped for fine linen. The forgotten prisoner, the betrayed brother, was now the prime minister of Egypt, second only to Pharaoh himself. Years later, the famine Joseph foretold gripped the land, its cruel fingers reaching all the way back to Canaan. His 10 brothers, their faces etched with hunger and desperation, journeyed to Egypt to buy grain. They stood before him, the powerful Egyptian ruler Zaphenath-Paneah, and bowed low to the ground. The dream had come true. Not as a moment of vindication for Joseph, but as a moment of divine fulfillment. He recognized them instantly, but they saw only a stranger. And here, Joseph's ultimate test began. Would he choose revenge or redemption? He could have exposed them, imprisoned them, executed them. The power was his. Instead, he orchestrated a series of tests, not to torment them, but to discern if their hearts had changed. He saw their genuine remorse, their fear for their younger brother Benjamin, and their guilt over what they had done to him so long ago. He heard them whisper among themselves, "In truth we are guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the distress of his soul, when he begged us and we did not listen," Genesis 42 verse 21. Finally, unable to restrain himself any longer, Joseph sent everyone out of the room and broke down, his sobs so loud they were heard throughout the palace. He revealed his identity, and his brothers were paralyzed with terror. This was the moment of reckoning. But what came from Joseph's mouth was not a verdict of condemnation, but a shocking revelation of grace. He didn't say, "You are forgiven." He said something far more profound. He revealed the hidden truth behind his entire life's suffering. He told them, "Do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. So it was not you who sent me here, but God," Genesis 45 verses 5 and 8. Years later, after their father Jacob had died, the brothers feared Joseph's kindness would end. They fell before him, offering to be his slaves. But Joseph, now fully transformed by his journey with God, wept and delivered the crystallizing theme of his entire existence, one of the most powerful statements in all of Scripture. "As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive, as they are today." Genesis 50 verse 20. This is the shocking truth behind his forgiveness. Joseph's ability to forgive didn't come from suppressing his pain or pretending the evil done to him wasn't real. It came from a radical shift in perspective. He was able to look past the malicious intent of his brothers and see the sovereign hand of God, weaving even their greatest evil into a tapestry of ultimate good. He saw that the pit, the slavery, the prison, they were not random tragedies. They were the very instruments God used to place him in the palace to save the world. Joseph's story challenges us to our core. It teaches us that true forgiveness isn't about excusing the offense, it's about entrusting the outcome to God. It's about having the faith to believe that God is a redeemer not just of souls, but of stories. He can take the most broken chapters of our lives, the betrayals, the injustices, the lonely nights, and use them to bring about a purpose far greater than we could ever imagine. Joseph's legacy is not the coat, the throne, or the dreams. It is the unwavering belief that no pit is too deep for God's presence, and no evil is too great for his redemptive power. If Joseph's incredible journey from the pit to the palace has moved you, and you want to discover more hidden truths within the Bible, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Hit that bell icon so you won't miss our next story, where we uncover the divine plans hidden within the lives of God's most unlikely heroes.